Do you get a lot of people, Amber, coming up to you and say, hey, you want to invest in my new app idea? Do you hear that a lot?
Yeah. I mean, people usually want to get feedback about their new app. That's the biggest thing. They want me to look at it. They want me to support it, give testimonials. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever I can. But, of course, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff just isn't good. It's an issue.
The word startup company words is something I hear literally 5 times a day. I got an office. We got a startup. We got the next app. We got the next big app. To the point where, and a lot of people ask, I think people think I have a lot more money than I have. And they always think that not only could I probably help with promotion in the app, but some investment in the app. And I always tell them that I probably could give you more money than promotion. But anyway, and it's not a lot of money. So, but what it comes down to is everyone seems to have the next Facebook, the next dating app, the next whatever. And I'm starting to think to myself, like, how do these guys, and you would know it better, how do these guys or girls or crews or companies, whatever, raise so much capital? And are they full of shit and just living off other people's money?
Well, I mean, I think that's been going on for a while. We've been in this bubble, this ongoing bubble. People say it has kind of popped over the years, but it really feels like it hasn't stopped. In 1999, I worked out in San Francisco at a dot-com startup, and you saw companies like this all over the place. You know, they had silly ideas that got tons of funding. I think what happens as well, in Canada at least, is there's a lot of government funding for these companies to start up. They do great pitches. You have tech investors who are really hungry. They're excited to invest in something. So yeah, 90% of stuff just isn't going to hit, right? It's just a silly idea. But unfortunately, I think at the end of the day, these tech investors like to gamble. You know, they're going to bet on something and hope it's going to work. And very often it just doesn't.
How does it work? Sorry to interrupt you. How does it work here for pitching to the government of Canada to try and get some development money for your company in the app world?
There are incubators and funds all over the place. In particular, you find it in certain areas like Waterloo, for example, is one little town right now where there are incubators where there are companies that are starting up that have funding from the government, various types of grants. They've figured out, an opportunity to be able to apply for those grants. And that's why we have these little pockets of startups. So you just have to be smart in terms of understanding what funding is available and then start to get in front of some of the VCs. And there are so many.
Venture capitalists.
Yes, venture capitalists. I should also say that there's certain areas that people have created products in that have done well. Wearable technology is one example. Wearable technology, of course, being things like watches and anything you wear on your body that has technology built into it. Canada is actually becoming a leader in that space. So that's very exciting.
So like if I had a good app idea with Jay Brody, and we could probably come up with something, because if there's anything that we do very well is be creative and fun. And then we figure out a way to go and pitch this. Is there a 1-800 number to call the government? Like, how do we get in touch with someone?
Yeah, I mean, you could write people like Industry Canada. You could research in terms of where there might be funding. I feel, and this is a huge generalization, but I feel with apps, the window is kind of starting to close. I think with a lot of investors that I see right now, they're looking for different types of products. So apps are one thing, but it's more about the hardware. It's more about gadgets and that type of technology. The Internet of Things, for example, is this multi-billion-dollar industry where products can have sensors built into them, and that's a huge emerging market. So it's less about apps and more about other types of technologies.
What's your take on drones, Amber Mac? Do you think it's getting to the point where it's a little freaky for people's privacy?
It is a little bit freaky for people's privacy. I mean, the reality is that you can buy a drone today for $1,200 that you can fly around, not necessarily legally because there are some restrictions, but I think it is scary as far as how far they can go, right? I mean, Amazon out west right now is testing out, Amazon, of course, being the e-commerce giant, they're testing out drone delivery out in British Columbia because they can't test it out in the U.S., and they're saying that's the future of home delivery. Well, I don't know how I feel about drones flying over my house and dropping off product. Like, that is a little bit frightening. Like, usually when I see things flying above me that it's not very high, that to me is like an alien invasion, right?
Yeah, no, it's trippy as anything. We posted this video on our Facebook page. I am Toddy Tickles, but it's really the show's page, where it was like this guy and a drone clipped the wing, but it turned out it was just a mock-up. Like, it was some guy who does these kind of fake videos that throws people's minds off. But I thought to myself, man, like, I actually thought it was real for a while. It's called bandit.com. Bandit.com is the guy's name. And it's like, but I feel like that will happen too. Like, we're living this world like the Jetsons, but it's not us. There's just a bunch of drones going everywhere. It's like trippy. I mean, it would be neat though if you got your pizza, like, 10 minutes faster, Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? Don't laugh about that, because in India right now, I just watched a marketing video for a pizza company, and they were actually delivering a pizza by drone. Now, they were only delivering to the rooftop of apartment buildings because that was the easiest place they had access. So imagine going to the roof of your apartment building and getting your pizza. That's pretty cool.
It'd be really. I don't know how they would detect. Like, how would they know? Because I would just wait up there for someone else's pizza.
Yeah, if I was your neighbor, that's exactly what I would do. Get a grappling hook and just shoot your pizza out of the sky. Enjoy it. Yeah.
That's wild. Okay, so everyone knows about drones. What else is something cool that maybe we don't know about that's out there now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Obviously, everybody's
Thank
talking.
you.
It is. That's a really great question. Really good. Everybody's talking about virtual reality, Oculus Rift, goggles and glasses that you're wearing that will take you into a virtual 3D-like environment where you'll game and you'll be in this entire virtual space. I mean, this isn't futuristic in the sense that we don't have to wait for this technology. It's available today. I briefly mentioned Tony Robbins, but this whole idea of holograms and being able to transport yourself to any place, that's kind of exciting. So I think virtual reality is one of the next big things, as well as the Internet of Things, where everything in our house is controlled by an app on our phone. And that means that, hey, when you leave your house, the umbrella lights up with a little blue light if the umbrella knows that it's going to rain, because it's connected to the internet. And that really, truly is the future. The Internet of Things is much bigger than just the internet. In fact, there's supposed to be, I think, something like 26 billion devices connected to the internet by the year 2020. So it's hard for us to wrap our heads around this, and I'm probably confusing people who are listening, like, what the heck is the Internet of Things? Well, it comprises of things like smart home technology, wearable technology. This just means that anything around us will have a sensor in it connected to the internet and just becomes a smart device. From a privacy perspective, this is also terrifying, but we are entering into a phenomenal time when it comes to technology.
What happens if the power goes down?
Yeah, we're in big trouble. Okay. I mean, but IKEA has charging tables, right? This could also be the future where furniture becomes a charging platform or table. So everything that needs to be charged, it will just be custom that, this table in the studio right now, I should be able to set any device on it and it charges up. So that can also be the future.
First off, we hate IKEA.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the couch, if the couch I have to spend 6 hours building myself has any kind of electricity going through it, everyone's dead in my home. It's not a good idea.
So they're gonna have charging tables where you can just put your phone down and it knows to connect and charge without actually plugging something in.
I mean, that depends on the phones if they have wireless charging built in. Which, for instance, Samsung has new phones that have that. The iPhone doesn't yet, but that is kind of the future of phones, is that they will have wireless charging. Second Cup is testing this technology right now in their cafes where they have tables where you set your phone down. So IKEA sells a table right now where it has wireless charging.
That's unbelievable. It's. I'm so mad. I never act on my ideas. It was like 4 years ago. I'm like, I should just start a company, and you just go to like every company, knock door to door even, and just like, you create some sort of charging table, but it was more where the wires are coming through and everything. And now like that's what's going to happen everywhere you go, because that's the biggest number one problem when you have your phone. It's not that you can't work it. It's the fact that you have no battery life for it to work.
Yeah. There's so many cool devices though that'll charge your phones and your whole life. It's amazing.
I don't know if you know. I'm just asking. Do they have devices that help amputees and stuff move like through this sensor technology, like can help them move and walk through Wi-Fi and stuff?
I mean, probably the most exciting thing I've seen is if someone has lost an arm or a leg, is that 3D printing technology is really changing the way that they can get new limbs. I just saw a story about a prosthetic jaw, I believe, that was 3D printed in Australia, and they actually did a full transplant. So more and more with 3D printing technology, we're going to see the ability for you to replace limbs, arms, wrists, whatever you need, because they can make a perfect replica of what you had before.
You're in a great business.
Yeah, it's
because it's, but I mean, it's such good job security because there's always something new. There's always something too new. Is that the frustrating part for consumers, where we get something and like a month later there's something better, and now we got to spend another $700 to get it?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I've always been more interested in software in some ways, as far as social media technology and those type of things that don't contribute necessarily to constant consumerism, because that's an issue, right? People feel the pressure that every year they've got to replace their phones. You really don't. I mean, there's cool new stuff, but your phone should last for a few years. But unfortunately, technology companies make so much money on these new products that they really rope us into this idea we always need something new. I think there's actually a term for that if you're addicted to newness. It's called being a neophiliac, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes.
A neophiliac. As long as you're not a neo-Nazi philiac, you're in good shape.
I don't know.
Okay.
How can you take something so innocent that I just said and turn it into that?
That's how my
genius.
mind's wired, and that's the beautiful
the
part.
beauty of
That's
you.
you probably will never be able to create a computer like Todd Shapiro.
There's no artificial intelligence for that.
Well, maybe too much artificial intelligence.
Hey, I'm Jay Brody. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. We read the best ones on the air.